Welcome to Heartspeak Podcast. Collaboration, compassion, evolution. Well, hello there, wherever you are in the world. It's good to be with you. And I cannot let these big astrological events go by without speaking with you. And I hope you will be able to integrate what I'm going to tell you into your lives. There's a lot going on, if you hadn't noticed. So on the 15th, we have a full moon in Taurus, conjunct Uranus, also in Taurus. This is opposite the sun in Scorpio. And what does this mean? So Taurus, we have got very familiar with Uranus being there, is about food, nature, health, the body, finances, security, etc. So when Uranus is there on that full moon, there is discussions about whether or not we're going to suddenly see something, because Uranus is about unexpected events, something out of the blue taking place. So we may see some unexpected event happening around those things that I've just mentioned. But I think that because of what's going on in the world on a larger level, and because Uranus rules Aquarius, which we're going to be talking about because Pluto is about to move into Aquarius, I think we're seeing a revolution in healthcare, a revolution in farming, a revolution in gardening, a revolution in finances, a revolution in what brings us security. And also an expansion beyond anything that we could imagine. That's Uranus. So the unexpectedness is, wow, look at this. And I've been looking at all these things. And of course, I'm delighted if we look at healthcare and really focus on what is healthy for us and what is not. What should we be eating? I've been very aware of those who are allowing us to know that, for instance, fluoride, which comes in our water supply many times here in the US, is actually not helpful at all for any sort of tooth decay, because it's absorbed through the mouth. So if you want to clean your teeth with fluoride, that's fine. But fluoride in the general system is dangerous. And I've always talked around this because of knowing that it causes calcification, for instance, of the pineal gland. And the pineal gland, or the pineal gland, is how we connect through our crown chakra to our soul, our higher self. So when it calcifies, we kind of lose our direction. And what we know is that fluoride causes this calcification, and has done ever since it was introduced, which I think was the late 40s, 1940s. But we're also learning that fluoride, unfortunately, lowers the IQ of boys if it's taken by the mother for several years, obviously, but it's also in the boy's water as well. And also, it is also seen to cause different states of health to our bones. And so this is maybe bone deterioration, arthritis, stenosis, a thickening of the bones. And at last, we've seen evidence that the science and those that are in control of whether we put fluoride into water, are now at last thinking about this and saying, maybe this isn't what we want to do anymore. So I'm delighted that there's shifts in some situations in healthcare which we never looked at before. And there are other things that we're noticing where food additives are put into foods here in the US that aren't put into foods in Canada or Europe. So again, it's a great thing that we start to become more aware of what we're eating, what we're putting in our bodies, where we're walking, how the planet and we are working together, what we're doing in our farming. And I think this will continue beautifully over certainly the next few months and the next few years. It's going to be great changes. So these are all these sort of Taurian ideas. Finance, certainly we could go to centralized financing, which I hope we don't. But I think that we're starting to see people becoming more aware of, how do I spend my money? Where do I put my money? How do I want other people to know about where I put my money? I certainly believe that using cash where you can is a good thing. But whatever you may choose to do, it's really an example of taking ownership of your money, taking ownership of your food, of your health. And this is, I think, a big key to this is not giving responsibility to other people for those things that I'm speaking about. And we naturally do that. Oh, they know what they're doing. They'll know. That's all changing. So I'm just kind of moving into the Pluto Aquarius, just saying Aquarius is about self-responsibility, self-accountability, and self-consciousness, which is all good. So it's like taking back our power, but it's also saying when I take that power back, I am willing to be responsible for my actions. I'm willing to be responsible for what I do, what I say, what I think, etc. So this shift is going to go on. You'll be pleased to know Pluto's in Aquarius until something like 2043, 44. So we've got a long time, but that's the theme that we're going to see moving forward. And bringing it back to this Taurian idea, that is saying all those suggestions I've given. What am I putting into my body? What food do I want to put into myself, into my family? How do I want to live with the earth? What is my responsibility of living with Gaia? And I have a great interest in this since this has been the book that I'm writing is how do we become better guests of Gaia? How do we become better children of Gaia? Because we truly are born through her heart and we are manifestations of her imagination. More to follow. But I've also seen, and I just want to point this out, this Uranus Taurus and this Taurian full moon, that Taurus has this way of asking us what causes us to feel secure. And it really is a question of if my security comes from having a house, having money, which is common, having a job, but I'm also going to take it to the level where for many people, their security comes from their belief systems. As long as you agree with me, I feel secure. As long as I know what I'm going to do in the future, I feel secure. This is very throat chakra. Tell me that everything I want to happen is going to happen. Tell me and secure my future. And that can't happen. So that when I work with people who are talking about wanting to change, they'll often say, okay, I'm willing to change if you can guarantee I will have a family at the end of it, I'll have money, I'll have this. Nope, no guarantees. But I can guarantee that you will change. And that's the only thing I can guarantee by that action. And so this, I think, is really a feature that I'm watching is where is our inner security? What makes us feel secure? And if you've ever been through a dark night of the soul or something where everything seemed to fall away outside you, that then allows you to tap into that deep inner security, doesn't it? That moment where you go, everything outside me is just gone. Maybe someone died in your life. And the only thing I'm holding on to is this little light inside me that says, I still exist. There's an I. And I feel that that's what's going on at this moment. I'm watching people struggle with changes that are happening in their world. And literally, if I may say, freaking out. But it's not the fact that whatever they're freaking out about is the problem. It's the fact that their identity, their security is coming from that outside influence. That makes sense? So not being able to know that you can buy this food and it's going to be available freaks some people out. The empty shelves. But our security can never come from external sources or things have to happen the way I want them to happen. So when we find ourselves getting extremely anxious because of something is not going the way we want it to go, it's not then to try and cement it down and say, that's it, I'm going to hold on to everything, I'm going to hoard everything just in case. It's actually realizing just how insecure we are inside. So one of the first steps for alchemy is this, the first step, and I won't bother with the name of it, but it is literally us being asked to let go of what is our outside influences that we feel are driving our bus? What are we defending? Because if we're angry and defending our rights or our expectations, etc., it means we're really not very sure of who we are. So the first step to transforming our base ignorance into the gold of enlightenment is actually letting go of the external and finding ourselves. And that isn't necessary. Obviously, you can do through therapy and introspection, but we mustn't also get lost in, I don't know, somebody else's framework. The sort of coming home I'm talking about is just that peacefulness, that knowingness. I may not know who I am, I may not have a word for it, but I actually feel okay about who I am. And that's my comfort. Doesn't have to be I'm okay because I believe in a certain religion, or I believe in this, or I follow this. That's all external. Who's at home, or what is the light that shines when there's nothing external? And that's that compassion I've put into our title. It's that having compassion for ourselves isn't just loving ourselves, it's actually coming home to ourselves, feeling there's a light inside. And that's what will help us to evolve. Because our external world can actually keep us trapped. As long as this goes my way, or as long as I'm living this particular identity, I'm okay. But heaven forbid that that identity is no longer needed. So you may, like I've been, a carer, and I had to learn that I'm more than just being a carer, because I could always attract people who needed my help. But that was only one of what I call my petals, my subpersonalities. There were so many others that wanted to be met. So sometimes we have to pull away from something that feels very familiar, very secure. As long as people need me, I'm okay. Because that's just an identity that we've created in order to know ourselves, but it isn't who we are, if that makes sense. Who we are is the totality of all our petals. And I'm noticing that some people are really clinging on to one of their archetypical personality types. The victim, the martyr, the guilt tripper, they're very common ones. And you may know people around you who are determined to hold on to that one identity because that otherwise they feel so insecure. And however much you try and change them, they are going to fight you. And I would just suggest you let them be, because that is their security blanket. And you would be much better to step away and shine the light and say there are other options here. But when we fight against someone, there's that stubbornness. You're like in a tug of war. So let people experience their whatever, because that's showing us how much they are, if I may say, lost in an identity that they've created, but they don't know how to get out. And frankly, at the moment, they don't want to. So that's the Uranus Taurus full moon we've got. On the same day, Saturn is turning direct in Pisces. Saturn in Pisces the message has been about bringing discipline to our spiritual practices, being more disciplined in our spirituality, being more disciplined and discerning in who we give our power to, who we follow. So this is, a theme that's come up. There's this wonderful mysticism that is being allowed to enter our world. Many people are experiencing more dreams, more synchronicities, more psychic awareness because of Neptune being there in Pisces as well. But Saturn is really saying, yeah, that's all very well, but keep your feet on the ground. Make sure you anchor into what is good for you. Don't get lost. And Saturn rules Capricorn, and Capricorn is about responsibility. So it's really saying is be responsible for your spirituality, which means it's one thing to say, well, I'm such an empath, I can move in and out of other people's energy. The question has to be, do they want you to move in and out of their energy? So where are we not honoring someone else's sacred space? Where are we stepping in when we shouldn't? And that's really what Saturn in Pisces is trying to say to us is, first of all, is this the drummer that you want to follow just because they've got a loud drum or they have a loud voice. Are they harmonizing with your soul's truth, or what is good for your soul? So it's really important. I think it's also asking you to look at your rituals. I'm not a particularly ritualistic person. Some of you may be more Piscean than I am. But I watch people doing rituals and I ask, well, why are you doing that? And they say, I don't know, I just do it. So that's not a good enough reason. So understanding our rituals, understanding why I'm needing to bang this drum, I'm using drums, but any sound, or why are you telling me to say these sounds? In other words, I've been in groups where they say, now make this sacred sound. And it's like, well, what does it mean? Well, I don't know. We all just keep making this sacred sound. Be aware of how powerful sound, colors, rituals, symbolism are. And they go very deep inside us, but we can also get hooked into somebody else's pattern of behavior, someone else's frequency. So I'm giving you just some guidance there to be very mindful. Even if you're religious, you go to a church, ask yourself, why are we singing this song? Why are we saying these words? Because I know, having gone to church a lot in the past, sometimes we're just doing this because we've always done it. So this is a time to really question your spiritual path. Why are we doing this? And what are you expecting from it? It might be even your prayers. Why am I praying? What's at the back of this? Because if there's a fear in the back of a prayer, all you do is intensify that fear. Please don't let them die. Well, you're focusing on someone dying. If you're saying, please bring to me all that is good and loving, you're going to focus on everything good and loving. So be very mindful of when we do intention or prayers or intonations, we're really making sure that the intention that we're putting out there is going in the direction of what is good for me, what is good for the whole. And this moves me on to, let's go to Pluto Aquarius. Pluto moving finally forever for the next 20 years into Aquarius, 19th, 20th of November. And here we have this big shift. Now, when Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008, we had the collapse of the monetary markets and many other markets with it, the housing market, etc. I was trying to work out what would be a collapse. Pluto, which is transformation, going into Aquarius. Aquarius is about the bigger picture, but it's also about technology. So there could be some shift in technology. We could have problems with technology. Of course, we rely so much on technology now, whether it's not just our phones, but we've also got the satellites, we've got AI. We are going to see more technology coming in with Pluto in Aquarius, but we may also see changes to how it's going to be used. And we may see, I don't know, satellite, transmissions going down over these next few weeks just because of this. Or we may see people being able to hack into something they shouldn't be hacking into. So I think there could be discussions about how technology is being used, and also, do we have control over it, or is it controlling us? So this is going to be a theme a lot during these next 20 years. But the other side of Aquarius is very much more, as I've mentioned, is about self-accountability, self-responsibility, self-consciousness. So we're going to see an extraordinary shift in consciousness and evolution during this time. And it's going to be very exciting. It's this shift that everybody's been predicting. Some call it the ascension, some call it the awakening, but massive shift in consciousness. But again, consciousness means to know yourself, or knowing of you, or knowing who you are. So I'm excited because we're going to get to know who we are as divine beings, but it's not just a mental process, it's an embodied process, living it. And that's the difference. We have to embody that process and then interact with the world around us to know ourselves. And again, you want to understand that. As a lovely medium once said, he sees people coming in on one level of consciousness, going out on the same level, because even though they've read all the books, gone on all the spiritual workshops, they've never changed themselves. So this is not about how much do you know in your head. It's not about how often do you meditate. It's about what have you learned about yourself because of the experiences that your soul created for you. And that's that. So this is an amazing shift that we're going to be continuing to see, evolutionary shift, but it's going to involve us not saying, that person told me this is the truth, or this, I've been following this person. That's all Piscean. The only people you want to follow are the ones who help you to know how to fish for your food. Excuse me, how to be a fisherman and not to actually give you fish. Teach you to fish, not to give you fish. So when you are wanting to follow someone or be around them, are they teaching you how to do what they do? Are they teaching you how to become more of you rather than more of them? That's going to be the future. Now, there's one last area I want to say. I probably want to say that Mercury is very active at the moment. And so be careful you don't just get on information overload. I'll put that in. But one other level was we had Mars opposite Pluto recently. And that was very much about letting go of being the victim in your family, letting go of the old stories. Beginning of January, we've got Mars and Pluto again opposite each other, but now Mars is in Leo and Pluto's in Aquarius. This will lead to not necessarily battles between me and you. To me, this is the collaboration. I have been looking at telepathic communication, and telepathic communication is not the same as being psychic or empathic. It is a universal communication system where I am part of the whole and I am an individual. So it's the I in the all and the all in the I. And they come together, if you think of the infinity sign, they come together in the center. So that center point where they cross is the most powerful piece of the whole story, just like the breath between my words. So there's a trinity. You're going to be hearing this more and more. It's not either or, which we've been living for 2,000 years in the age of Pisces. It's a I, you, us. I, them, us. That's the future. And telepathy says, how can I evolve in order to help the good of the all? And how can the good of the all evolve to help the I? That's our future. That's the collaboration. It's not about becoming more powerful on your own side. We are now becoming part of the all. And if by my actions the all is suffering, I will stop doing those things. At the same time, if I am not being allowed to grow because of the all, something has to change. And we see this magical telepathic communication in the birds that fly. And they fly in formation. One new bird will go out the front, the others will pull, and the old one will come back. They work completely telepathically, as do the dolphins or the whales. Even though I might see a whale or a dolphin out on its own, it's always communicating with the whole. And if what the individual dolphin is doing is not good for the whole, then the energy will pull that individual dolphin back into the pod until everything is in harmony again. So in this Pluto Aquarian age, we are becoming part of the whole, but it's not losing ourselves. It's evolving as an individual within the whole, following the patterning of the whole and what is for the universal good. And I think this is exciting. Now, we don't have to even think universe. We have to think of the family. So you have your own family unit. Everybody, it needs to be given responsibility to thrive, to evolve, to be self-conscious, to be responsible for their actions. But they must also do it in harmony with the growth of the family. And the family's responsibility is to grow as well so that all can move together. And that's going to be tricky for us because we're so used to almost a separation or everybody doing everything the same way, which isn't what we want. We want unity through the acceptance of diversity. the more diverse you can be, the more you can bring back to the family or the universe and actually expand that. Be yourself. That's going to be the message of this whole podcast. So I'm finishing there. I hope that's helped you. It's several themes coming together. I'm not going to do a solstice event this year in December, but at the end of December, I'm going to be doing a leaping into 2025 event, which I'll let you know about, just because there is so much happening in 2025, so many shifts, some of which I've already just mentioned to you. But I want to just really line things out or spread things out for you so you can see what's coming. We are living in extraordinary times. They're only just beginning. Things are going to be so different even this time next year. And it is all about expansion of consciousness, my friends. It's not, if having a war expands our consciousness, so be it. But if it doesn't, we don't need the war. We need to find ways to expand consciousness that benefits all, not just individuals. So I wish you a very happy full moon, and I wish you a happy transition of Pluto into Aquarius and Saturn going back direct. And until next time, many blessings now. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the HeartSpeak podcast with Dr. Christine Page. Please check out all HeartSpeak episodes in the podcast archive section on www.christinepage.com. HeartSpeak is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Tumblr, and now playing on Amazon Music and iHeartRadio. You can also watch the archive podcast on Christine's channel, on YouTube, and now on Rumble. Connect with Christine on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook group, The Great Mother Calling. Do share with family, friends, colleagues. Join us next time for another edition of HeartSpeak.